Welcome to Gagliardi's Got Real Estate Podcast, hosted by myself, Gerald, Sabri, and Rocky Gagliardi. We look forward to bringing you more informative information. We've got special guests, hot topics. Make sure you follow on your preferred podcast platform, GSRE Socials. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hi all, and welcome to another episode of the GSRE Podcast. Today, with my fellow colleague Adam McCurdy, we're here to interview Kelly Ferguson from JG King and Charley Daldy from Cavaliers, and we're all talking about the building industry. So ladies, thank you for coming along. Appreciate it. Kelly, Charley, talk about a little bit about yourselves firstly and what you do and go from there.
Sure. So I'm Kelly Ferguson. I've been with JG King for about 3 years, but I've actually been in the industry about 17 years, working for a couple of other builders in town. It's a great job. I've loved it since moving to Shepparton. I came here 20 years ago and got into the industry sort of when my son was just going into primary school. And so now I'm still here, 17 years on. It's great.
Very nice. And Charley?
Yeah, I'm Charley from Cavalier Homes. So I've been with Cavalier for about 11 years now, and I've pretty much started from scratch from there and grown myself into the business and had a bit of time off in between with a couple of young kids, and now I'm back full time and loving it.
So ladies, the building industry, obviously it's been a bit of a up and down sort of swing over the last few years, as you could say, especially over across the media too. We've had a few builders obviously go bust, and a couple of big national builders obviously in the spotlight too, having some issues. So that obviously throws out in the marketplace that, building, people shouldn't build or should build, those sort of things. So it's a bit of a tough time, plus also interest rates going up, prices for blocks going up as well. Obviously they come back a little bit now recently, but it's been a bit of a tougher time over the last few years. So how is it like at the moment?
I think we're in a very unique situation at the moment. Yes, some builders, unfortunately have had to stop operations. JG King's very lucky that we're a cash positive business, so we own our own window and door factory. It makes it a lot easier for us. We have our own steel factory. We're the largest steel frame builder, so we're very unique in the situation. But at the same time, we face challenges like every other builder. Like you said, interest rates, building cost, all the new energy ratings and everything we have to comply with. The costs just keep escalating, which is making affordability for customers really, really difficult. So do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, the cost of building now compared to what it was quite a few years ago is just, it's gone up so much. And a lot a lot of people it has pushed out of the market.
You'd probably say doubled nearly?
Yeah, probably, yep. And it's really difficult because the market's changed a lot as far as who is buying. First home buyers, investors, it's not really prevalent at the very minute. There's still people out there. It's just the affordability factor is very difficult for them. Where you used to be able to do house and land for about $350, $400 was really good in the Shepparton area. Now you're lucky to get anything for between $500 and $600. Yeah. So affordability is a really big issue at the moment. So
and you're really only seeing that second, third, fourth home buyer now.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
Right. You're not seeing the first home buyer.
No.
It's just
second, third home buyers. So they've brought their first home. They're looking to upgrade, get a bigger home. They've had a few kids or whatever, or even the downsizers. They've sold off a large home or a farm. They've got some cash in behind that there to afford.
That's right. They've built the equity over the years to be able to do another home.
So what would the average sort of cost, build cost at the moment you'd be averaging? Obviously it's the variance there, but what would you say the most sort of cost would be there?
Yeah, I would say probably anywhere between $400,000 and $500,000 to build a home at the moment. Yeah. Even some of our smaller designs in a more affordable range, you'd be very lucky to get a 4-bedroom, 2 living area home for $360,000, $370,000.
And that's base.
That would be a pretty basic sort of home with nice features, but certainly not a lot of the things that a second and third home buyer where they want that $400,000 to $500,000, even higher, because they're a discerning buyer that's got the money and the affordability to be able to do it and get the borrowings.
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly kind of 400's kind of your minimum and up from there depending on the buyer. And that 400, like Kelly said, it's a standard home. Yeah.
I've spoken to a few people who have, because obviously we sell a lot of land, and there are people that will spend some good money on some homes though too.
Yeah.
So even up to 800, 900,000, you're getting a few
Yeah.
sort of people.
We've certainly got a few in the market at the moment. They're kind of, that 700 to 900 is, what we're quoting them at, and they're big homes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
it's a different market.
It's a different market. It's gone are the days of the smaller stock standard homes. It's really the people who are building their forever home.
Yeah,
got the cash
absolutely.
there and are spending big to build bigger homes.
Mm.
Yeah. So which is, it's a change of the scenery really. It's not like there's no hope for first home buyers or investors.
No.
It's just they're out of the market now, and they can buy an established home for a lot less, but it's still nice. Or for an investor, they get that cash positive back there through there too. So,
and I think we'll eventually see the first home buyers back.
Yeah.
I think hopefully if more grants come in or interest rates come down, I'm sure that'll.
I think the market's so volatile at the moment. It's just things need to settle down so people can understand, especially with investors as well. There's too much going on at the moment. So they just need things to settle down so they can work out where the affordability is, whether the investment opportunity is worth it for them, and then making those right decisions. Even talking to financial planners, there's a lot of different information out there, so it's hard for customers to work through what's actually suitable for them. They don't necessarily always get the right information. Yeah. So when they do, it's great because we know we can work with them. Yeah. But when they're not getting the right information, it makes it very difficult to help them coordinate that. And the other side of it is the cost of building with the cost of land, finishing off their home, all those costs compared to buying an established home. It sort of goes in, peaks and troughs, doesn't it? Where it's better to build than it's better to buy, and it just depends on what's happening in the market at the time.
That's right. Makes it a bit harder too. It's probably not as bad now, but every month there was one stage where every month you were getting a price rise.
Yeah,
you're getting hit up suppliers. So how's that? Has that sort of settled now? Like are your prices relatively holding to a degree, like maybe every 3 or 4 months?
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Obviously the new 7-star rating has definitely pushed our prices up in the NCC Changes. And, builders insurance has gone up also. So
that's
unfortunately,
a big topic, 30%.
All builders are gonna,
I think because everyone knew what was coming in May, everyone started trying to adjust their pricing to try and, I suppose, soften the blow.
Yeah.
And so, we went 7-star in December, which was a bit early compared to everyone else, but it allowed us time to settle into our changes of home designs. And then obviously when May came around, we could finish everything off that we needed to complete, the disability requirements, 7-star, everything like that. And so I'd like to think now our prices have settled down.
Yeah.
Once we hit.
And it certainly gave customers a lot of, confidence that, everything like that had been sorted before May.
Yeah,
for sure.
So Kelly and Charlie, what's a day in the life look like as a sales consultant?
Busy.
I think it changes every day. It's not something that you just go to work at 9 o'clock and finish at 5 and that's it. Like the customers that we have mean that you can do a lot of weekend work, you do a lot of nighttime work. It's not just going to an office or a display home every day. I feel like when you're facilitating a customer's journey to build a new home, it's a big deal, so I'm not sure about you. I think you do the same, but, I travel a lot to out of towns. I've got a very broad build area. So, a day in the life could be going to a place like Mansfield for the night, or it could be driving around looking at estates, or it could be customer meetings or doing home sightings or visiting agents and developers. And so it's quite a varied job actually. It's not just as simple as going to the office for the day, is it?
Yeah, for sure. Like definitely in the role, you're not just sitting there all day. There is so much involved in the job, visiting agents and site inspections and, even meeting clients after hours, because if that's, what works, then that's what we need to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Quite often I'm on my computer of a night time. Because that's when, clients can, respond to you and help.
Yeah, definitely. And your weekends as well, you're at the displays a lot of the time. You're fairly busy, probably meeting a lot of new prospects there as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting I know Cavaliers and JG King, we're both open 7 days a week.
Yep.
So it gives customers a lot more opportunities to come and visit us when they need to. We're both open every afternoon, and we like to stay open as much as we can.
Yep.
It is a little bit quiet in the displays at the moment because, obviously with different situations with travel, but the inquiry that does come through the display is always genuine inquiry.
Yeah.
So I've noticed it has started picking up a little bit the last probably month again. It was very quiet the last couple of months. But again, I think now pricing has settled down. People are starting to work through their options. I think we'll go through tax time. And then I think it'll start to get busy again as it gets around that August, September, once people have more of an idea of where they're at. But there's lots of inquiry for information only at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, especially the last couple of weeks, I feel that the display home numbers have increased and the inquiry has increased a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of go through quiet times and busy times.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same in real estate. There's just waves and cycles,
Yeah.
really, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Just in the economy. So
Depends on the weather, kids'
Yeah, weather,
sports, all
big
those
one.
kind of things. It all makes a difference.
Definitely.
Yeah.
if you've got a
Definitely.
cloudy day and it's about to rain, you don't
Yeah.
get much of an open home either, unfortunately.
Well,
So,
it's interesting with the display home how different it can be.
Yeah.
So sometimes on a rainy day, you think, right, it's really cold and rainy, no one's coming in, I can get all this work done, catch up on paperwork. And a lot of people can't go to their own work, so they're
Yeah.
coming into the display. And then you get a beautiful sunny day, no one comes because
No
they're
one's
out
there.
doing other
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
you really can't pick a day. Some days on a Tuesday you'll think it's quiet and you'll get 6 people through the
Yeah.
display. So the beauty of having displays open every day is it gives people flexibility of
Yeah.
choice to come and visit us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the viewers that haven't built before, explain the process from start to finish with the build process. You don't have to obviously go into too much detail, but
Yeah.
as a rough sort of
You go.
synopsis
Yeah.
there, explain to the viewers what would that look like with the process.
Yeah, so the initial process, we obviously spend quite a bit of time with clients, picking their floor plan and making sure the plan works and their pricing is correct. And once they're happy with the plan and price, we generally move to the next stage and, start preparing the drafting plans, getting a soil test and doing a colour selection.
Yeah.
And once all that's done, generally we can get to contract quite quick, depending on, titled land, people's finance, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they generally come with you with a block already picked out potentially, or
Not always.
Not always. They might
No.
not have any land at all.
And that's where it's very hard to talk about the process
Yeah.
because there's so many factors
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
So if they've got, it's almost like a tree of information. You
Yeah.
start, how's your finance looking so we can help you pick the right design? Then it's the next step. Have you got land? Have you not got land?
Yeah.
Then it's working through that next step, working out the house that goes with the land and obviously sitting with the customer and facilitating what they want in their home, what they can afford, what we need to do to make it work on their block. And again, it depends on the range
Yeah.
as to how quick that contract
Yeah.
process can be. Sometimes we can get them out in 6 to 8 weeks. Sometimes it's 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's dependent on the journey that you have with the customer as
Yeah.
how organised they am as well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you can get things through the system pretty quick for customers that need to for finance, but it doesn't always work that way if they're not organised as well.
No.
So the key is to be organised and
Yeah.
let us help you tell the customer what needs to be done and them actually following through and
Yeah.
doing it when we need them to so that everything can work pretty smoothly.
And I guess it can be hard for some buyers or people building if it's their first time because they're not sure exactly what the floor plan would look like or how that would orientation, upgrades, what that would look like, colours.
Yep. People do find it hard to
Yeah.
visualise. I'm not too sure about Kelly, but we certainly do take people through houses that are under construction,
Yeah.
which can actually help the clients, kind of visualise what their home might look like.
Yeah.
We've also got heaps of display homes, kind of, Bendigo, Albury, Wodonga, that we do suggest to go for a walk through too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like Charlie said, we are the same. We could
Yeah.
take customers through homes under construction. And I suppose customers have been very blessed over the last 15, 20 years because no one ever bought houses
Yeah.
or everything, was bought off a plan. So the fact that people can drive all around the state and look at different home designs, and people laugh at me when I tell them that I flew to Queensland once to look at a house I was going to build because it wasn't on display here, but it was in Queensland. Well, it was a good way to have a holiday, but
Yeah.
when you're spending a lot of money to jump on a plane for a weekend to
That's
look
right.
at your exact design and be able to walk through it, is fantastic.
Yep.
You don't want to have any second guesses, do you?
So a lot of customers say go for that drive to Gippsland that's 4 hours away if that's the home you're looking at building, to make sure it's right for you. So customers are very lucky they've got homes to walk through and at least can visualise it at the moment.
And most customers will jump on that and go, yep, no worries,
Yeah,
we'll definitely go for a drive. Because they're invested in, wanting to do this.
If they're putting in $500,000-$600,000 for a build, you want to make sure you get it right
Absolutely.
the first time.
Yeah.
What's the build times at the moment? Once you've signed contracts, deposits paid, everything's been approved, from slab down to get to the slab down all the way to finished product. Obviously, it's variance depending on the size of the home too, and the certain specifications and upgrades and things like that. But
I look, as a general guide, I'd allow probably 6 to 8 months to build a house. Again, we've got a very big, broad area. So home size compared to location and availability of trades and supplies at the moment, it's really hard to give everyone an exact gauge. And that's what everybody wants to know. When can I move in?
Yeah.
But 6 to 8 months would be a good realistic figure to work towards, I would say, for us at the moment.
Yeah, we kind of generally tell people kind of that 7 to 8 month mark too. And we're the same. We do cover such a broad area, so the guys are travelling quite big distances. And again, trades and supplies, just trying to get them on every job.
And start time, because there was a point in time where building was booming, and you'd be waiting 6 to 12 months to actually start and put a slab down. So has that obviously been reduced a little bit now? Like you'd be able to get on site fairly quickly?
Certainly at JG King, we can start when we're ready to start. There's no, we've got everything ready and now we can't start for 3 months. We had a little bit of that issue in New South Wales. We don't have that issue here at all now. But a lot of it's coming down to council permits, finance, getting all of those bits and pieces ready after you've signed a contract to make sure we can start. But there's no delay in actually being able to start. And certainly with supplies and trades now, there's no issues with that either anymore. It has all sort of settled down. So we can start when we need to start. Obviously, the big hurdle in that is land not being ready. Quite often everything is done and we're waiting for land to be titled. So there's been a real issue around the whole state really, but certainly in our area with land not titling when it should, or customers have been told land will be ready by a certain date and then it's held off by 12 months. So that obviously creates a whole another set of issues we have to deal with. And every builder's having to manage that. So
when that does happen in that scenario, which you might have seen a couple of times, what's this process for that? Because obviously they've got a contract for a certain amount of time until they can let it go, or how do they stay in for that time after
from our side of things, generally a contract will be valid for 12 months, but depending on the situation, it's how long it's going to take to get to site. So sometimes, unfortunately, customers will get a price rise because our pricing is allowed for 12 months. So if it's drawn out another... And then the next issue with that is finance. A lot of people, and especially in this time frame where we had first home buyers with a 90-day approval, all of a sudden they had to redo their finance. So, it's not easy, Luckily, I don't have to deal with that too much. It's the admin team that has to coordinate that.
We tend to... we might be a little bit different where, if we know that the block's not going to be ready for 6, 12 months, whatever it might be, we'll do everything up to contract, but we won't actually do contracts until we can get out there and do a soil test. To be able to do a contract.
And again, that comes down to all the variances that go into building. So we have the ability to offer fixed site costs. So if we've got the engineering for a subdivision, we can go ahead and get fixed site costs done, which is great because it takes away all of the unknowns for customers with the cost of site-related works. When that happens, we can go straight to contract and just sit on it. In other situations where we can't do that, we're similar to Charlie with waiting until we can get on site and do a soil test before we can finalise a contract.
I think it comes down to kind of where the land's at too.
Yes, absolutely.
If it's just a paddock, then it makes things very difficult.
Yes.
But if it's a little bit further along, then
definitely.
In terms of good design, I know you said you'd for the Queensland just have a look at a house, but what about the small things like orientation of your block or set on a corner, small things like that? Are those things that obviously you bring up with your client to try and get them the best result at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, different cultures want different things, So generally you want to aim for north or east orientation for sun. Obviously, all homes need to be 7-star rated now. So you can, well, certainly with JG King, you can orient the homes in any direction, but still achieving the best north orientation or east orientation to maximise your sunlight, maximise, warming up your home can make a big difference. And where people's blocks are, there's a lot of different rules that have to be complied with. So sometimes it's not as easy as someone picking a house and saying, I've got that block and that's where I want it. It's just not as easy as that. So quite often we're working with the customer to make sure we can achieve all of those sort of meeting res code, meeting the developer guidelines, also trying to achieve the best orientation for the customer. So there's a whole range of things we have to help customers work through.
Yeah, definitely with your northeast sun, ideally, that's the best way to situate your house on the block. But, clients that I've certainly dealt with, they might have good views out to the west side. So they want their living areas on that side, and we do explain to them that it can be quite hot. But, the views are the most important to them. So, definitely. It really does depend on the client and the block.
Yeah, definitely. Is there any other little things that you really bring up to clients for them to consider that they may not necessarily... Like for a first home buyer, you wouldn't know orientation and sunlight and those sort of things. Is there any other little things that you...
Not that I can think of specifically with orientation, but certainly trying to assist customers to understand all the things they won't consider when they build. And it might be something as little as a garage is good to be 6 metres away, not 4, because then when you've got visitors, you can park 2 cars out the front of your garage. Like it's little things like that.
Yeah, that's
right. Even little things like how you orientate the house to maybe for bin storage. Like it seems like such a silly thing, but when you're living in the house and when you've owned a few houses, and Charlie will be the same, you sort of get used to knowing, well, this doesn't work and that would be better, and have you considered doing this? And all of a sudden they're things they would not even have considered until you raise it with them. And that comes from experience.
Yeah, and I think people appreciate, personal experience on building a house because 100% like bins and things like that, they don't think about that.
Yeah.
They just, want the big kitchen and, a nice ensuite and things like that. They don't think about the overall situation like that.
Well, it's even if they're thinking of where am I going to put a clothesline?
Yeah.
Like, we all generally have them. And where are you having a garden shed? Where are you putting the shed? Do you want to be able to look at it? Do you want it offset? Are you thinking about a pool? Not that we control all of that sort of thing, but it's important for people to be able to work out how they're going to fit and place all of these things on their block, and we've got the ability to do that with our siding program. So,
So you're both, and this is probably the biggest thing too, JG King Cavs, they're both national brands, but everything's local, correct? Like from the sales staff to the tradies, everything. So Cavaliers probably do a few more custom homes comparative to JG King. You probably got more not so much standard, but you got your set floor plan. So what's the difference there between the two builders? Obviously there's other custom builders as well, but obviously,
Well, I think between obviously the both of us, we do have, a large range of standard homes, and quite often, a lot of people are happy with what we produce to them, but you do get the client that just wants a complete custom home. And we've got in-house drafties where we've got the ability to design something for them, which helps a lot. Rather than them going to an architect, we can do it, in-house with them. Yeah.
Whereas obviously with us, it's volume builder, and it gets thrown around, but that's sort of the essence of it. We have a set range of designs. We have a set range of inclusions. Every home can be customised or personalised, but we don't have the ability to completely do a customised home. If someone comes in and says, we've got a floor plan we like, can you build it? We've had an architect draw it up. That's not something we can do. It's potentially something that Cavaliers can certainly look at. So, but then there's a price point at that as well.
Definitely.
It was interesting on the weekend. I had a lot of conversations with customers that, say, well, I can go to that builder and get 42 bricks in the standard range. Why do you only offer 4? And I suppose it's trying to educate the customer as to why that is. It's because of buying power with a big company and having the ability to get certain products at very good rates. So then you pay more as you go and do a one-off thing, So we might buy thousands of ovens, and as soon as we want a specific one type of oven, it becomes more expensive. So we don't have the same buying power.
Yep.
And so that's why when volume builders generally have a range to work with, it's because they've been able to secure excellent pricing for the customers at that standard range. And then you just build the home to suit what you want. But as far as customising a home, there's certain options we can do. And yes, we can look at it on a case-by-case basis. So we can do some customisation, but certainly not a complete customised home.
Yeah. And steel frame as well with JG King's probably another thing that's different to the other market. Do you get a lot of people that are wanting steel frame as a...
It has become more and more prevalent. I was quite surprised when I came to JG King to work how much a steel frame is well regarded in the area, especially with the termite area that we're in. And we are the largest in Victoria as a steel frame builder. So there are smaller builders that do the steel frame, but we have our own steel frame factory. It allows us to control the outputs and the volume that we do. And steel frame is very popular. That combined with a ColourBond roof standard works very well in our market. So, yeah, we're very happy to have that sort of, I suppose, unique position in the market for that space.
I know we spoke a bit just before about the 7-star rating coming in, and you've been doing it since December.
Yep.
And there's obviously disabled-friendly doors and so forth coming in. Just touch on your thoughts about those and then how you're adapting to that, and if there's anything else that buyers may need to be aware of when they do build their home and the new ratings and metrics they have to meet.
We were certainly organised like Kelly and had all our plans changed to NCC and with the disability and 7-star quite early on. I like the NCC changes. I think, wider hallways and more space in the toilets and things like that, it does help a lot of people in the future. You don't know what the future holds.
Yep.
So, if your house is built to that standard, then you don't generally have to change too much later on if something does happen. Yeah.
It's like anything. When we went from 5-star to 6-star, everyone was up in arms about the changes. Now everybody loves what they've got.
Yep.
Now you've gone to 7-star. Again, there's a cost contribution to that.
Yep.
But all the things that they've done are fabulous, like double glazing. We've changed our homes to a UPVC European-styled window. They've been in existence for 30 years. Little bit of change in the Australian market. People aren't used to it, so it's a very new thing, this change, but it allows us to keep our window sizes big throughout the home. We can orient the home in any direction. Having bigger, greater insulation in your walls, in your ceilings, greater weather wrap, which is the paper that goes around the outside of a home. All those 7-star things are fantastic for homes in general. Once you've got them, I think no one will want to ever go backwards.
Yeah.
But the second thing is, like Charlie said, all of the NCC changes that have come into play are great because, flush tiled shower bases, easy access for customers into their home if they're in a wheelchair. There's extra bracing in the walls to put handrails for people if they ever need it for disability issues. The bigger doorways, it just gives you more space. So I don't think any of the changes are difficult. It's just obviously there's been a cost attached to it and now we've complied with it, and we're both very lucky, I think, that our pricing already accommodates all of that. We're not in a situation where we're going, we still don't know the cost, so we'll put an allowance in your estimate. We like people to have finite pricing.
Yeah.
We don't want there to be any unknowns.
We're the same. We kind of, make sure that all our pricing is 100% because there's nothing worse than going back to a client with hidden costs. They just lose confidence.
Yeah, correct. They want everything up front, know what they're going to get.
And I do agree with the 7-star. Everyone's been quite happy with it.
Yeah.
They love the idea that it's double glazed. They love the idea that all the insulation's graded. And the price is not really concerning people. Yeah.
Even solar systems on the roof now. I'm not sure. Is Cavaliers putting a solar
depending
system on the roof?
it depends on the orientation.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to when we do that energy rating on the house and that block.
Yep.
But yes.
Yeah. So all of our homes will have a 3 kilowatt, PV system, photovoltaic solar system on the roof, but they'll always get rated for what would possibly be best for their home.
Yep.
And so it's just all of these features that everybody hears and talks about in the marketplace. It's now implementing it all to make a more energy efficient home. So I can't think there was something else I was going to say about what you said with orientation. I've lost it now. That's okay.
And I guess now for the future, there's the no gas for future developments too. It's probably going to be a common thing now with self-sufficient homes and high energy ratings too. So
it's an interesting one, the gas, and I could be speaking out of turn here, but the whole no gas thing, as far as we're aware, it's to do with planning permits and planning development. So when it all hit the media that no gas from January 1, it was actually incorrect, because if a development had a planning approval prior to January 1,
correct,
there is still access to gas. So there's a lot of estates in town that people are thinking, oh, I can't have gas and I like gas cooking. That's the big one. But generally, gas will be available. It's only future stages now where development hasn't been approved, they won't be able to. And let's face it, on an acreage block where they need a planning permit, customers never had access to natural gas anyway. So, yes, gas bottles have never been an issue, but it's more that, yes, if people want gas, they can connect to it, and people have the choice now, which they didn't have last year. Last year, if you had natural gas, you had to have it. Now you can have the choice.
Yeah, and 100% the information was brought out there wrong, because we still do get people coming to the display homes, oh, we can't have gas in our home. Like, well, no, that's incorrect. You can have gas.
Oh, we're the same with the land too. Everyone, at the time when it was released, every second person was asking, does this have gas? So, before we wrap up, anything else on the front of your mind that needs to be discussed for any potential clients out there looking to build or considering building at all that you feel might be necessary? I think we've covered a lot. So
yeah, we have.
Yeah,
I think it's important for customers to understand that we're here to help them and support them. So to come in and visit us and just have a chat, there's no pressure on them. It's good to start getting information. You know, we're very happy to hand out pricing, inclusions, books, just so people can start working through their options. But the biggest thing is that they go and talk to their broker or their financial planner or their banker and just start to get a feel for what they can possibly do if they want to get into the market. Because quite often people will say, oh, I just want to keep saving money for 6 months or 12 months. But the savings get lost in the cost of the increase of houses. So all they need to do is come and talk to us and let us support them in achieving their dream of owning a new home. That's all they need to do.
Yeah, I think, certainly the biggest advice here, 100%, go speak to a broker, go speak to a bank, go find out what you can do. And, that's right, come and have a chat to us. We've got, relationships with brokers around town, so we can help them and guide them in the right direction. And we are here to help.
Yeah. And we do have people that we might be talking to for 12 months. It's 100%. Not just come in and we hassling you to buy a house the next week. You know, there's a lot of customers that we're just helping them through their journey, and it could take a good 12 months before they actually make a commitment. But it's being honest and upfront and keeping the communication alive with them so people can make the right decision when they're ready.
It's a big investment, so it certainly is a process. We're not here to push people. It's, when they're ready, we will help them, guide them through the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned both your displays are open 7 days a week, so pretty easy to contact you both. Come through the office or, Google JG King or Cavaliers. You both got offices as well within Shep too, but also probably the easiest way to contact you is come to the displays. Would be the best way.
Definitely come through to the display. Otherwise, our office too, we've just built a brand new colour room too. So definitely come down and have a bit of a look at that. It's quite impressive.
Well, thank you for both jumping on the podcast today. And thank you for the viewers and listeners here listening to our podcast. As I said, if you want to listen to our podcast on your favourite streaming devices, it's all accessible there. And for now, we will see you next time for our next episode. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe on your favourite podcast platform so you don't miss upcoming episodes. We would love you to share this podcast with your network, and if you have any questions or feedback, please connect with us via our social network or head to gagliardiscott.com.au.